Yes, when we were younger, we were cast in roles by, family, our social structure, wherever we were from. And yet we get to choose as we get older, we get to choose, like, am I going to continue to play this role? Am I going to continue to show up this way? Or am I going to stop and do something different? And so you have to be able to stand up for yourself. You know that there are people in your life that are afraid of you succeeding. Whether it's fear for you or of you, you know that, and yet you haven't made that move. So I really want you to be present with that. If you want to live an extraordinary life, you got to step forward. You got to step into the water. You got to move in the direction of your dreams so you don't attract what you want. You attract who you are. Are you ready to stop living the life that people said you were supposed to live and start living a life that you actually love? Look, I get it. From the outside, people are like, oh my gosh, it's so amazing. Like it looks like Shangri-La on the outside, and yet it's 50 shades of crazy on the inside. I've been there. I understand. And so in this episode, I'm going to help you find the pathway to going from where you are to where you want to be, living a life filled with joy and vibrancy and purpose that lights you up. And this is what I can tell you. The stories that we tell ourselves and others impact the life that we live. Hey, I'm Roz Clark, the Dream Doula, and I guide high achieving women who feel trapped in the lives that they've created to reconnect with their dreams and design a life that they love. So, using my rebirth method, I've helped hundreds of executives, performers, entrepreneurs to release what no longer serves them, reconnect with their purpose and their passion, and create the blueprint to the life of their dreams. So, look, if you know that you're meant for more, but you're just not sure how to get there, and you may even have a tinge of guilt for it because you already have so much, and you're like, how could I possibly ask for more? Well, I actually am going to come out the gate with just a special gift for you to help you start answering those questions. It's my 12-step transformation journey workbook. Look, you don't need more information. You don't need more affirmations. You need a blueprint that not only tells you what you need to do, it shows you how to do it. And that is exactly what this workbook does. So if you comment workbook below, I'll send it over to you right away. All right, so let's get started. So here's the premise. Change your story, change your life. And I know that sounds overly simple, and yet it is the key to transforming your life, to beginning to create that life that lights you up. So change your story, change your life. So we'll start with, in a story, there's always characters, there's always roles to be played. So the question I want you to ask yourself is, what role have I chosen to play? And I know you're going to push back on me like, no, I didn't choose it. It was forced upon me, or I didn't know, or EIEIO. And here's the thing. Yes, when we were younger, we were cast in roles by, family, our social structure, wherever we were from. And yet we get to choose as we get older, we get to choose, like, am I going to continue to play this role? Am I going to continue to show up this way? Or am I going to stop and do something different? And so when you look at like what roles have you chosen to play, and there's a lot of roles, there's the victim, the rescuer, the fixer, the hero. I know a lot about that one. And even the villain. Like, sometimes we get cast as the villain, or we resign ourselves to that role. So for me, I always showed up as the strong one. So when I was younger, I was, I was the eldest. And even though I was a female, I was the strongest. I was the one who could stand up to people, to fight for myself and my younger sibling at the time. And so I was cast in that role of the strong one, the fighter, the one who got things done. And two things happen. So what we have to do when we start doing this exercise, we have to own our part. That's how we get to choose again. So look, I was rewarded for being the strong one. I was rewarded for being the take charge person. So I got a certain degree of self-identity and satisfaction from the role that I played. And yet, as I got older, and it took me a while to learn it, those roles didn't always serve me because I took on things that weren't mine to take on. I would do more than I needed to do. I would do more than what was healthy for me. And so that being the strong one actually began to work to my detriment. And so I had to make some decisions like, am I going to keep showing up in a way that is draining me, that is limiting me, that is causing me pain and suffering? So I had to make a choice. What roles do I want to play? Or even how do I choose to play those roles? And what's so interesting is like now I play multiple roles in my life, and I made the choice. I did the work and I made the choice to recast myself, if you will, to rewrite the narrative, to show up in my own story in a way that was more healthy and more affirming. So now I do still play the hero, and yet I play the hero for myself. I play the love of my life for myself. So I love myself first. I made the choice when I was, inherently a rescuer. I finally had to make the choice like, girl, you think you might want to rescue yourself? So I had to make some choices. I had to take a step back and look and really say, what is the part that you're owning? What is the part that serves you? And what is the part that is causing you, you're literally my health? And so I started making better decisions. I learned how to say no. No is our friend. So that was one of the choices that I made, and that, I won't keep showing up this way, or I won't even take on, because like once you start doing stuff, and like if you're one of the fixers or the rescuers or the dependable one in your group, family, circle, you know how that is. It's like, oh, Roz will do that. Oh, Roz can handle that. Oh, Roz is so good at that. So again, it's like, oh, I am good at that, aren't I? But just because you're good at something doesn't mean that you should do something. So start, doing, like figuring it out, right? So like I said, now I play multiple roles. So for myself, I am the hero. I am the lover. I love myself, and I do love other people, but I've learned to love myself first. And then for my clients don't need me to be their hero. They need to become their own hero. So my job for my clients is to be the guide, because I've lived through it. I've done the work. I've had the experience. I've had the healing. I've had the rebirth. I've had, the pains and the scars that I can save them from, but not like that. I'm going to be the guide so that I can guide them through the process, so that they can come to their own conclusions, that they can get really clear on what is it that I want. So what is it that I'm doing that's not serving me? Because I kept showing up the way people told me to show up. And you know how that is, like I remember when I was younger, I always wanted to be an artist, and I was finally able to do that. But my parents wanted me to get a real job. So my dad was like, but honey, you're smart. You could have a real job. And yet that part I wasn't willing to sacrifice. So that was the part of myself, my sense of self, that I was able to hold on to. So that's the work that you have to begin to do, looking at the role that you play, the role that you have chosen and allowed yourself to be cast in. So for, like I said, I work with high achieving women. So a lot of times they go into careers that are expected of them, or they take on roles and responsibilities that are expected of them. And yet there's a sense of loss, a sense of emptiness, a sense of longing for more. And so it doesn't mean that you just have to say, oh, well, I'm going to just trash everything. No, you have to begin to find a way to incorporate more of yourself, more of what brings you joy, more of who you are at the essence of your being. And there will come a time that you can begin to make that move to live your life fully and authentically as yourself without sacrificing the quality of life, without sacrificing the things that you've accomplished. You start using those skills, because so many times I've found, especially with my clients, they've built other people's dreams. They built other people's businesses. They built, they've done everything for their family, and they're, supporting their family, putting their kids through college, taking care of their elders and whatever. And yet there's no room in their life for them. So that's the first thing. So you want to start doing this inventory of how am I showing up in the world, asking, as my mentor Tony Robbins says, ask better questions, get better outcomes. And so my 12-step transformational journey workbook, my gift to you, will help you get started doing that. Just that. You'll start asking the right questions. You'll start seeing yourself more objectively and more lovingly, with more grace and with more kindness and with more consideration. So if you want the workbook, just comment workbook, and I will make sure that I get it over to you, because I want you to start this process of creating the blueprint for a life that you love, a life that lights you up. So the second thing, you've asked yourself, what role have I chosen to play? The next thing you need to ask is, what are you broadcasting and attracting? And I tell people all the time, we don't attract what we want, we attract who we are. So you may say one thing and do another, like, well, I want more time. I want more freedom. I want to be more creative. I want to do more for myself. And yet you keep showing up the total opposite of that. You say one thing and you do another, because our default is to go to what we're used to, because that feels safe, that feels easy. And even though it causes discomfort and it causes discontent, we are so used to it that we keep going to our default. So like people who are perceived, or they allow themselves to be perceived as the victim, and I'm even talking about selfish people, because it's like, I just do everything for everybody and nobody sees me and nobody appreciates me and all of that, because you keep telling that story, because you keep saying yes when you should be saying no. So you've taught people how to treat you. And even if you may have like your little hissy fit or your blow up from time to time, for the most part, you'll just keep doing it. And like I know I had a client who was like, I just want to live an extraordinary life, and I want to be free, and I want to be more creative, and I want to tap into my purpose and my passion. And yet she kept playing small. She kept playing by the rules. And like she had a great job and a great position. And yet, even in that, she came in with the uniform. She didn't rock the boat. She didn't speak up. She checked all the boxes, and yet she never rocked the boat. And sometimes, baby, if you rock that boat, something else will come up, something exciting will come up. Because here's the thing, if we are created by a divine creator to be creative, why don't we use that? Why don't we show up in our gifts? Why don't we show up in our zone of genius rather than playing scared and playing small, because we don't want to draw attention to ourselves. We want to just keep doing what needs to be done, keep grinding along. And yet, like, when you first started, and that's the thing, you think back to when you first started something, whatever career you got into it most times because there was something that attracted you to it. You had a certain degree of gifting for it. And there was an excitement. We usually find like we're going to change the world. We're going to do work that matters. Like Seth Godin always says, do work that matters for people that care. And so you started out that way. And then because of whatever the pressure, the culture, the inability to assert yourself in that situation, you kept shrinking yourself. You kept playing smaller. A lot of times that happens in relationships because our partners feel challenged by us. The very thing that attracted them to us, our vibrancy, our joy, our intelligence, our creativity now begin to make them feel threatened. And so they'll start doing little things to start diminishing the very gifts that first attracted them to you. And so you have to be able to stand up for yourself. And like I said, that can be in relationships, that can be in family, that can be in organizations, that can be in work. There's so many ways that begins to show up that we begin to diminish our greatness. So think about that. So who in your circle does exactly that? It's like, oh, I'm ready. I'm going to do this. Or, when the kids graduate, or I'm going to work 5 more years and then start this thing. And yet it just never, ever, ever happens. And I find this also to be the case with people who are extremely religious. They allow themselves to blame God for their mediocrity. Well, if God wanted me to have it, he would have given it to me. No, sweetie, you got to do the work. You got to show up and be who you're supposed to be. What you were given was a gift. What you were given was a calling. And yet when it gets tough, you want to fall back. You want to fall back and say, well, if the Lord wants me to have it, they'll make a way. And no, you got to do the work. You got to show up. You've got to be able to persevere and move forward. When the Red Sea parted, it wasn't because there was this pronouncement. No, Moses started walking, put his foot forward, and then the sea parted. So it's the same thing in our life. Whatever our faith, a story is, again, the stories we tell ourselves. Whatever our faith practice is, standing in our gift and our greatness, not this false sense of humility, not this false sense of being manipulated by the opinions and of other people and the dogma of certain groups, that want to tell you, well, you've got to be this, or you can't be that, or, be less than because anything more is vanity and ego and pride and whatever have you. No, you were given a gift. And deep down, you know that. You know that you have a gift. You know that you have a calling. And yet you continue to play small. You may play small because you don't want to outshine the people in your family, your friends. And here's the thing, and we're coming to this now, there are some things that we have to shift. There are some things that we have to change. And again, that doesn't mean that you have to send people into exile. It just may be time for you to start shifting and surround yourself with people who are going where you're going, or people who have already been where you want to go. So that is the shift that you can't, that you have to make. What is that corny saying that you can't hang with turkeys if you want to fly with eagles? I used to have a boss that said that all the time. I loved him for that. But yeah, and it's not even being judgmental. And yet, you know that there are people in your life that don't want to see you win. You know that there are people in your life that are afraid of you succeeding. Whether it's fear for you or of you, you know that. And yet you haven't made that move. So I really want you to be present with that. You know, if you want to live an extraordinary life, you got to step forward. You got to step into the water. You got to move in the direction of your dreams so you don't attract what you want. You attract who you are. And that is when you begin that process. So we've covered, what role have you chosen to play? What are you broadcasting and attracting? And this one is so important because now we've kind of opened some stuff up. And I know I've probably pushed a couple buttons, but love me through this. Stay with me because I'm here. I'm here for you. I'm here to serve you. So stay with me on this. So the next thing is, what does true transformation look like for you? What does it look like? You know, when you think about your ideal life, what does it look like? What are you doing? Who are you with? And that goes back to the people that we are talking about. A lot of them aren't there. You may visit them, you may include them from time to time. They're not the ones who can walk with you. So, what does transformation look like for you? When I used to work in the nonprofit industry, and you would do collaborations, sometimes it was with people who funded you. And one of the things that I learned very early on in the process is, like, I wasn't coming asking for money. Like, because a lot of people get that in their mind in the nonprofit world, like, oh, please give me some money. This means so much and we're doing so good. No, how do we collaborate? And that's why I was able to collaborate with corporations, because what I got clear on is, like, my question to them was, what does success look like for you? What are they looking to accomplish? Are they looking to serve their clients? Are they looking to serve their corporate responsibility? Like, what does success look like to you? And then this is the flip side, is for you, like, I'm asking you that question. What does success look like for you? And when you're able to name it, I always say, name your next. What does it really look like for you? Not what somebody told you to be, not how somebody told you to show up in the world, not how you're supposed to dress when you go. Like, what does it look like? What does freedom and success and a life that you love look like to you? So when I did this in collaboration, and I still do it in collaboration with partners or whatever, I figure out what it looks like to them. Then I figure out what it looks like to me. And then we come together and figure out, how do we make this happen to the benefit of both organizations? And that was something that I learned really quickly, that I got really good at. And so my corporate partners were always excited to hear from me, not because I was asking for money. They were happy to collaborate with me because I helped them meet their goals and objectives. And so that's the same thing that I want to see you do. And yet you have to get clear on, what is it that you want? What does success look like for you? What does a life that you love look like to you? What does the perfect day look like to you? And so if you're in a place right now that you're not experiencing that, like, you're like, I have a lot, and yet there's so much more that I want to be, do, and have. That is okay. That just means that you're growing, that you're evolving, and that what you've accomplished can now be used for a greater and a higher good. And so that feeling at first, that of the yikes, like, I know I've been there, or that it really is uncomfortable. Like I'm not happy, I'm not content, I'm not comfortable. I feel a little guilty about it, and yet I know deep inside that there's more that I can do, there's more that I can have, there's more that I can be. That's the question, and that's the process. And so for me, the work that I've done is, having lived through that, I've been able to create what I call my rebirth method, because it was the same steps that I took when my life looked great on the outside and was a hot mess on the inside. I used these tools and tactics and skills and practices to create a life that I'm just grateful for, that I'm excited about. And so I created Awaken Your Dreams. And it's an online digital course that has videos and workbooks, and it helps you start not only asking those questions, start taking the action step by step by step. It is the blueprint from to get you from where you are now to where you want to be. It's the experience that I share from having given birth to my dreams and my passions again, how I've helped clients do the same by naming their next and really getting clear on what those steps are and who they need to help them in the journey. And so, of course, yes, it's the work that I've done. I also teach them how to build teams and how to create community, because when you start doing this work, you need a different kind of community. You need community that's going to support you and celebrate you and mentor you and move you in that direction. So I not only created the course, I've built a community that can support you through the process. And so while you are, reclaiming your joy, reclaiming your freedom, reclaiming your creativity, you get to change with people who are celebrating you, instead of like, oh my God, you're changing. No, it's like, oh my gosh, you're changing. Look at you. I'm so excited for you. And so that is the thing that you want to have, because at the end of the day, you want to live a life that you love. You want to use your gifts for your highest good and for the highest good of others. You want to be, you want to be able to wake up each day grateful and excited for what you get to do next. And that's what Awaken Your Dreams will do for you. So I'm going to leave a link here. You can click the link, Awaken Your Dreams. The course starts immediately. You don't have to wait. And yet, what I am offering, and hopefully by the time you see this video, it's still available, I'm doing a limited time bonus of an intimate live Zoom workshop with me, where we will go through your specific choices, challenges. And what I'm also including for a limited time is a live Zoom session with me that is specific to what you're building. So we will look at the choices that you need to make, the challenges, and then steps. We will map out in this workshop the 3 next steps that you have to make once you've awakened your dream, because we're not going to just leave it at a dream. We are going to move in the direction of your dreams, giving you the tools, tactics, and practices to create a life that you love. So, like I said, there'll be a link in the description. Click the link, register, you get instant access to the course, and you can get started right away. So I'm so super excited to support you, to serve you, to celebrate you, and help you to tell a different story. Because when you change your story, you can indeed change your life. You awaken what has been placed in you, that dream, that passion, that calling, that you get to begin to live as your best and highest self. So I trust that this video served you. I'm excited to see you in the course. Click the link and register. and stay connected with me. Make sure that you leave a comment, like, and if you haven't already, subscribe. So this is your time. Your dreams matter. Your calling matters. You get to tell a better story. You get to cast yourself in the role that you want to live in. And in the meantime, I remind you as always to continue to think big and dream even bigger. I'll see you soon. Be well. Peace.